Murphy was like a whitetail nut when there weren't very many whitetail nuts.
Well, let's hope things get better. I'm Lee Murphy, and this is the Crush in Iowa with Lee and Tiffany. And as Lee would do, yes!
He was just such a mentor to me, as I was getting into my hunting career. And this is, we never thought we'd ever have a show or anything like that, but he was just super influential to me.
And I just figured enough of these B-grade cameramen that we have going out with Murphy.
Nice. I've been infatuated with whitetails basically my entire life, since I can remember. And so by the time I graduated high school and stuff, you're talking the late 80s and 90s, there was magazine articles, but there was no internet at that time. There was no social media. There were no cell phones even. Like now you can learn so much about deer and, well, about anything you want. It was at your fingertips. But back then, there was none of that. So when I started working at an archery shop, I worked at a couple of different archery shops for my entire after high school and college years and stuff. I think I spent 8 years working in archery shops, and all the guys coming in, you're just talking hunting all the time. And the names that kept coming up were like Lee Murphy and Jim Hill and Ron Cormier, and just a whole bunch of guys in Minnesota that were just total diehard whitetail hunters. And it just got me so interested in talking to these guys. And Lee Murphy was a whitetail nut when there weren't very many whitetail nuts.
Hey, how are you guys doing? It's only, 82 degrees out, and if we shoot one, it's going to be a race to get it into a cooler. So wish us luck. Oh, here it is. We get everything ready, get our showers, come out here, and I'm not really into it. I don't want to really shoot one in 80-some degree temperature. And we get in the blind, and I look, the quiver isn't on the crossbow. It's in the other Ranger. So George ran back to get him, but that's the way we're starting out down here. Get in the blind and we don't have any crossbows. Well, let's hope things get better.
I gave you that one, but I might let you have these ones.
Everybody's so mean to me. I don't understand it.
I wonder why Lee's not here.
I don't know where we put him.
Yeah, well,
I gotta have my reading glasses.
I know.
$13,000 to get my eyes fixed, and they're worse than ever.
Everyone knows about shed hunting and stuff now, but he was shed hunting all over the place. Realtree made the Milk River famous. Everybody who's a whitetail hunter kind of has heard about the Milk River at this point. But Murphy was going shed hunting on the Milk River in Montana in the 70s. I'm just being so infatuated with whitetails like I just went and knocked on his door and just introduced myself to him and started talking to him. And of course, the very first time we went over there, I think we probably spent 6 hours sitting talking, looking at horns, and then he had the biggest collection I'd ever seen, and probably had the biggest collection at that time, because really nobody else was shed hunting. You never heard about it anyway. He had hundreds and hundreds of sheds and giant sheds, and we just hit it off. Even though I was just a punk out of high school, that you could see that I had passion for it, and spent time to talk to me. He had been everywhere: Kansas, Iowa, Montana, everything. And I had basically just graduated from high school. I hadn't been anywhere but Minnesota. Back then, Iowa was just open to non-residents. There were leftover tags. It's crazy now. I think it's 7 years that you wait for tags for Iowa. But back then, nobody really knew about any of that kind of stuff. So we never had to apply. There were just hundreds of leftover tags. We'd go get them. And so, I'd only hunted Minnesota. And so I started talking with Murphy, and there's not that many people that, when they've got spots that they've been going to in all these different states and they spent all that work on, they're gonna divulge any information to you. Murphy was just kind of an open book to me. He's like, hey, this is where you wanna go. You wanna come down, I'll show you. So we would go down to Iowa, and he'd show me all these different places and people that he knew. And like I said, I was a young kid. Most people wouldn't tell you anything about it. For me, Murphy was just such a mentor, and I was younger growing up. And so then him and I, just when it came to hunting season, just inseparable.
here it is. I spent probably almost 30 days hunting down here. I just got back down here about 3 hours ago. We've been in the tree for maybe an hour. The 10-point just came out, one that I'd seen maybe 3 weeks ago. He came into just under 40 yards. I just aced him. He's laying dead out in the field there. Lakosky puts in umpteen amount of hours and months, and I don't know anybody that passes him by like he does. This is the final result. Pretty buck.
That is a beautiful buck, man. Awesome, awesome.
Look what you did with my ring.
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
Awesome, man.
No kidding.
What a buck.
But you can smell him too, huh?
Yep.
Obviously, we've known Murphy for a long time. He's taken some amazing deer with us here in Iowa. And as he's gotten older, he's had to switch from a vertical bow to a mission crossbow. He struggled with it for a while, but we're like, hey, either you get out and you can use a crossbow or you're not out at all. Those are your two choices. So obviously, he made the switch to a crossbow and hasn't looked back.
He was just such a mentor to me, as I was getting into my hunting career. And this is, we never thought we'd ever have a show or anything like that, but he was just super influential to me. So then, fast forward, 15 years, and, I quit my job and moved to Iowa and started the show, and, started getting in some really good farms and being able to manage them and putting in food plots and all that kind of stuff that we never could do. When Murphy and I first started coming down, we were just hunting on public land, and it was, best places we'd ever hunted. But now when you could just start enhancing it yourself and putting in food plots and stuff, and when you could see, it just blew up. As far as back then, there was no EHD. We just had, deer, we could get them as old as we wanted to. And so, it was just basically heaven on earth for me back in those days when we just first started here. And it still is today. But back then, you went from, basically just hunting Minnesota and public land. It was basically going from Ethiopia to utopia, basically overnight when we finally moved to Iowa. And so when we made the move to Iowa, we started buying property and managing property. I always said, there's always a place for Murph. Whenever you have a tag, my place is yours. And, he's taken some great deer with us over the years.
Well, here we are. It's the 8th of October. It's still up close to 80 degrees, and it's supposed to warm up for tomorrow. I've been seeing some pretty decent bucks, but I guess I want a real old one. I don't care much what it scores, but I'm going for the old one, so. He's not real huge in the body, though. Could be the deciding factor. He's definitely carrying 170 inches of horn. He looks pretty small there, doesn't he? Well,
when Murph was out there and he had, such a great encounter, just being able to watch a deer like Mufasa was just special for him. Like from when we first started hunting together, we would have shot that deer every time, and it just shows, as you get better and better places and start shooting some deer, your standards just keep going up. That was the things that when we were younger, you never see a deer like that. When I first met Murphy, especially with a bow, we drove all the way to Hinckley, Minnesota, which is an hour-and-a-half drive to see a deer that a guy shot with a bow. And because it was Pope and Young, it was a 135-inch deer, we drove an hour and a half to see it. That's where we came from. Murph passed on him just thinking he's 4 or 5-year-old, which we knew that he was, but in hindsight, looking back at it now, that deer disappeared in November and never saw him again, never found him again. Likely got shot or something like that. So, in hindsight, I wish Murphy could have dropped the hammer on a deer like that, because he deserves it for all the spots and the deer I shot on places that he led me to, you know, unfortunately, you know, 9 times out of 10, those deer you pass, you know, likely you'll never see them again. But you just still have to keep doing it, because of one that finally does make it and you get them to 200 or bigger is worth the reward. But, you know, just still think it's pretty special for Murphy to be able to just sit out there and just see a deer like that and just be able to watch them for a while.
I think James told me that the 10 point came in here yesterday when they were here. Made one circle and chased all the deer. Let's see where he's going. Coming across the creek. That's a pretty fair buck. I think that was the one we're after.
All right, it is like the 28th of December, and Murphy's came down yesterday. It was raining out, so we decided to go out, waited to go out today. And I just figured enough of these B-grade cameramen that we have going out with Murphy. It's about time we get the A group going out. Murphy and I are gonna go out after I think 10 with a sticker off the beam.
Alright, we got out in this blind. I wasn't sure. Like I said, I set this up for gun season, and then we never hunted it. I wasn't exactly sure. We had cameras out, but they don't always tell you a lot. I mean, we got out, we pulled the ranger by. I usually try to move them out with the ranger and not with a person, because I'm used to rangers being around. You know, there was 4 or 5 deer in here. Heck, we haven't been here, what, 10 minutes? We just sat down, because I'm already a dozen or more deer out. Why they're firing out. He's gonna show tonight. That's him. That's our buck right there, too. Let's see what he does. Let's go ahead and open this one. Where's that rangefinder for it? Set that up here. I see him in the corner. I'll range when he comes out.
Yeah, you just click on him.
I don't have him.
It's ready.
No, I don't have him.
You clicked on him.
Yes, it should not.
You ready?
Yep. Nice.
Hit him a little higher.
Yep. Good enough though, I think.
But no.
That was a little nerve-wracking. I mean, he was behind this corn the whole time, and you just couldn't see him, and those does start coming. Yeah, he's probably gonna come out.
How old of a buck do you say he was?
I don't know. I think he's like a 6-year-old deer. Like I said, took the A-team, did it?
All right, let's go start following some blood there, old man.
All right. Well, remember, I had a good guide, even if he's bossy.
Look at that blood. I mean, that's, use that new black series and it's just pouring out.
Big drops here. Do you think he looks like this?
You see him?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you called that one right. It gets kind of sickening when you're right all the time.
Oh, that's how we
That's
find
a
the arrow.
That's the sticker buck.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I got to thank you and Tiff. It's been a long hunt, but I came back yesterday, and here, what did we hunt, an hour?
Yeah, I don't mess around, Murph.
Well, I sure appreciate it. You've done so much for me.
Yeah, and you for me, Murph.
So that was just so awesome to be with Murphy on his bow kill. You know, obviously we've been hunting together for over 30 years. And we've sat in trees together. That's the first time I've ever been with him when he actually harvested the deer. You know, normally he's been on film here several times, but we always had camera guys or other people with him. So that's but the first time I've ever been in the blind with them, filmed it myself and be able to be with him. So that was pretty awesome, you know, over all the years, just to be able to witness Murph finally kill one of his good bucks.